So Nelson's copy for the website has come through. This should be interesting. Yep, I can see mistakes all the way through it. This copy is due on the website in an hour, and he calls himself an editor.
Nelson, get in here right now.
Yeah. What's her problem now? She's always at me. But if I ever need anything, like, say, a day off next week, no, she can't help. As for her tone, I don't know what I did to make her like this with me. Hasn't she ever heard of pleasantries? Hi, Nelson, how are you? I'm well, thanks. Would you mind dropping by to see me for a minute? Surely it's not that hard.
While not yet a full-blown conflict, this situation has all the signs of the beginning stages of the conflict spiral. Both Kim and Nelson have competing needs. Kim's need is to get the copy on the website. Nelson's need is for a hard-earned break from his work and for a more positive relationship with Kim. In addition, it is clear that both Kim and Nelson harbour some yet-to-be-addressed negative feelings and resentment towards each other, and that these feelings have existed for some time. Kim is concerned about the deadline for publication of material for the website, but other issues exist as well. Primarily, the issue of her attitude towards Nelson, which Nelson perceives as arrogant and self-centred. At this point in the conflict cycle, Kim and Nelson have some choices to make about how best to handle the situation. The choices available to them are known as conflict management strategies, and these include avoidance, submission, force, cooperation, and collaboration. The avoidance strategy involves flight from conflict, or an effort to sidestep or ignore the conflict. Let's take a look at how Nelson might use the avoidance strategy in his altercation with Kim.
Look, Kim, before you say anything, I want to offer my resignation.
In this scenario, Nelson has successfully avoided addressing the real issue with Kim and has instead avoided any conflict by promptly resigning from his job. In taking this approach, however, Nelson has also rendered himself unemployed. He has lost the opportunity to work in the highly competitive world of television current affairs, and he's also lost an opportunity to develop conflict management skills that may help him in the future. Avoidance is not usually an effective strategy in managing workplace conflict, as ignoring the conflict will not necessarily make it go away. Most conflicts are only resolved when some direct action is taken. The second strategy Nelson could use to deal with the conflict is submission. Submission means to surrender, give up, comply with demands, and deny one's own needs in order to diffuse conflict.
Look, I'm sorry, Kim. I know my work hasn't been up to standard. I'm really sorry.
A person who automatically yields to others in every circumstance will probably do themselves more harm than good. This is because a person who feels continually obligated to give in may eventually stop caring about their work and develop problems with self-esteem. It also means the core conflict issue is never addressed, so that the conflict cycle remains intact. Nelson's next option is to use force. The use of force means fighting to win and to use power, whether psychological or physical, to impose demands.
Look, Kim, I'm getting sick of this. I'm sick of your attitude and I'm sick of your demands. This stops right now. Do you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear, Nelson. You know what? You can pack up your desk and get out of here. You're finished here.
People who rely on force to achieve their goals often assume their opponents will submit quickly to their demands. In reality, however, most people dislike feeling forced into situations against their will and will often use any means available to resist the use of force. For Nelson, this has resulted in an unexpected backlash. He has lost his job. So the strategies of avoidance, submission, and force have failed Nelson at this time. he still has two more constructive strategies available to him: compromise and collaboration. We'll look at these in the next chapter. Avoidance, submission and force are all strategies used in the management of conflict. Avoidance means ignoring the conflict and is not considered a successful method of conflict management because it fails to address the conflict issue. Submission means to surrender and comply with any demands made. Doing so means the conflict issue is not addressed, and this can lead to resentment and low self-esteem. The use of force requires using power to impose demands on others. Most people dislike being forced into situations and use other means to resist the force used. Perhaps the most constructive conflict management strategies are those of compromise and collaboration. Compromise means meeting halfway, both giving and taking, and making some sacrifices to achieve a desired outcome. Collaboration means working together to achieve the best possible outcomes for all parties. But effective conflict management involves more than the choice of an appropriate strategy. Firstly, it involves assessing the situation as objectively as possible and remaining aware of any subjective emotions.
Nelson, get in here right now.
Yeah. What's her problem now? She's always at me. But if I ever need anything, like, say, a day off next week, no, she can't help. Okay, I've got to calm down. There's no point responding to her emotionally. That'll only make things worse. I've got to work out what's going on here and what I need to say.
After assessing the situation, the next step is to collect all accurate information that will help you resolve the conflict. This may involve making a phone call to a colleague, checking back over old email communication, or investigating any recently completed work or reports.
Well, I've just spoken to a colleague. Seems Kim's under a lot of pressure to get the website up. I guess that could explain her attitude. Maybe it's not just a personal attack on me.
The next step is to identify what you want from the situation. Knowing your end goal will help you keep the discussion positive and enable you to state your position clearly.
Okay, so what do I want from this meeting? I want, firstly, to find out exactly what the